Okay, so I just want to demonstrate for you how to change your current kinematic start file over to metric units. There's a couple things we have to do to make this adjustment so that things come out properly. Okay, so first of all, we drew our original one in inches, and we have it called kinematic start. So before we do anything else, I just want to do a quick save as, and I like calling mine kinematic start underscore millimeters so that it's different. Okay, so I'm just going to do underscore mm. Now, that doesn't automatically make it millimeters. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go up to that red A up in the upper left-hand corner. And we're going to go down to drawing utilities. Okay. And then we're going to go to units. It's one of those flyouts. Okay. Once we get there, the units that are there are inches. So we need to change those to millimeters. Okay. Now, typically the precision that we draw in on our screen, 4 millimeters is not going to be to 4 decimal places just because millimeters are so much smaller than inches. So usually 2 or 3 is plenty. So I'm just going to leave that at 2. And I'm going to put my angle at 1 because sometimes we want to know a little bit further in the dimensions that we get. So I'm just going to hit that as okay. And we can always change that in the dimensioning and such. Okay. Now, remember, this was drawn in inches. Okay. So what that means is right now, because we're in millimeters, for instance, if I do a linear dimension here, this is only 0.75 millimeters wide. Okay. For what we created. So what I'm going to do is I just want to scale this up 25.4. Does that make sense? Okay. So 20, because there's 25.4 millimeters in 1 inch. So we're going to click on scale. Scale is in the middle at the bottom row in the modify area on our home ribbon. Okay. I'm going to click on scale and I'm going to watch my command line. It says select the objects you want to scale. So I'm going to do a window, click, click, and it's going to select all those items. All right. Once I have those selected, I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to ask me to specify a base position. It can be anywhere. I'm just going to randomly select kind of in the middle here. And now I could manually, change this dimension and left click, but I want it to be 25.4 times larger. So I'm going to key in 25.4, enter. Now I don't see anything because everything got bigger by 25.4. So I'm just going to do a zoom extents or ZE, and then I'll just zoom out a little bit. And you should have this right about there. Whether that crosshairs is at the right place or not does not matter at all. Okay. Because as we know, we can draw wherever. So I'm going to do a quick file save because now I have things sized appropriately. Now, another thing you're going to run into is that you are not going to have the dimensions the right size. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the annotation tab on the top here. Okay. And we're going to go kind of to this middle-ish where dimensions are, but to the right, there's this down and to the right arrow. This is the dimension style manager. I'm going to click on that and this dialog box is going to come up. I'm going to click modify. All right. Now, all of these values that are in here are in inch values. So again, if I would put a dimension on something, they're going to be super small. Okay. So I've got to increase all of these by 25 by a scale of 25.4. So I'm going to start over on my line tab and we're going to kind of change things up just like you did in tech drafting. The color has to be by layer. Okay. The line type has to be by layer and my line weight has to be by layer. So make sure wherever you see by layer anywhere in here, or I'm sorry, by block, you want to change to by layer. Then there is a bunch of them down here as well, by block to by layer. Okay, this is where most of them are, but we'll come upon a couple other ones. Now, in the middle here, there's a baseline spacing of 0.38. That's 3/8 of an inch. We need to multiply 0.38 by 25.4. So go ahead and do that and put the value in here. Okay. You're going to do the same thing over on the right-hand side for the 0.18. You're going to say 0.18, you're going to multiply by 25.4. And then offset from the origin, 0.0625 times 25.4. And once we have those all set, we're going to go to our next tab. Symbol and arrows. We're going to look if there's any by blocks. There is not, but there is an arrow size at 0.18. We need to change that to multiplying by 25.4. We are going to turn off the center marks. You don't need those on. Dimension break size, 0.125. We need to multiply that by 25.4. The jog angle can remain 45 because that's an angular degree. And then you're going to notice that the scale factor is 1.5. So you wouldn't multiply that by 25.4, only things that are distances or dimensions. Then we're going to go to the text. Standard remains, and then you want to change the by block to by layer. The text height, 0.18, we're going to multiply that by 25.4. And the last one is offset from dimension line, 0.09, multiply that by 25.4. Then we're going to go to fit. We're going to check here. I don't think there's any there. And then we're going to go to primary units. When we have millimeters, as I said earlier, we usually don't hold those to 4 decimal places because they're small to begin with. So putting them at 2 maximum is good. Scale factor is 1. We keep the leading 0 with those. So everything else there should be okay. So we can hit okay. And we can set current. And now you should see this all in here look normal again. For a little while, those lines were long or the arrows were looking kind of funky, but now everything should look normal. Okay. And then we're gonna set that as current. And then we're gonna say closed. Now, when we put a dimension on, so even if you want to test it really quickly, so linear dimension, if I go from here to here, now notice that it's a reasonable size that I'll be able to see, okay, rather than super small. All right. Okay, and then we're going to do one more time, file, save. And now you should be good to go. One thing that you might want to do, you might want to add some extra object layers here that have that hidden line type with different colors, just so they're on here. So I added a green, cyan, yellow, and a magenta. But you can do that as you go along as well, but just as a time saver, if you would. So that's how you set up then the metric version of the start file. Are there any questions before I close out? Okay. So then I will